Hi guys, in today's review we'll be looking at this slightly old tooled LMS Black 5 or Class 5. This is a railroad range, so basically the motor got moved from the tender to the locomotive but still kept the tooling of the old 80s and 90s tender stuff. I bought this several years ago when they first came out. I think I paid £50 brand new. It was off eBay. I bought 3 or 4 railroad locomotives at the time, and £50 seems good money for what they are. They're very basic, but they do the job they're meant to. So yeah, this is an era 3 one, as you can tell by the tender, and it's in black. So let's see what it's all about, shall we? As we start off at the front of the locomotive, we'll start with the buffer beam. On the buffer beam there is quite a lot of rivets on there, which is nice to see. There's also a hook which is moulded and it's in red. We also have the buffers, which are plastic and black. It is quite an old tooling, but it's nice. We also have a big massive fat decoupling. I don't think you can take it off, but it's there. It is nice, at least you've got a front coupling. As we move up towards the cement box door area, we do have some steps going up on the chassis, so you can walk along it, I guess. We also have, which looks like a separately applied handrail and cement box dart. We also have the number of the loco, which is 5112. We have the chimney as well. As we move on to the side of the locomotive, you can see the wheel configuration, which is a 460. These are some lining on this locomotive. We had it on the steam chest, I believe they are, the cylinders. We also have it around the cab and at the start of the boiler and the end of the boiler. I believe that's correct. It's just a red line, very basic, but it's there. We also have the number of the loco again, printed. It's not too bad actually, a little bit more backhead to it, it's quite good, which is 5112. We also have, which I think is a reverser. That's there, that is nice, that is plastic. But it's there, it's nice. We have a fine handrail, and we also have a steam pipe of some description going from one end to the other. We do have safety valves and whistles. I think the whistle is moulded in, and the safety valves I think are plastic. But they look the part in my opinion. We have also on top, we have a dome and a feeder I believe, and we also have the chimney too. As we move on to the other side of the locomotive, there is some differences. We don't have that steam pipe, but we do have the handrail. We also have a cylinder thing near the cab, which the lining has gone over. I'm not sure what that is for. We also have some sanding gear there too, and lubrication ports on the locomotive. The rods themselves, even though it's Chinese made, they're quite thin, they're quite nice, saying this is an old tooling, and I understand that the wheel lining is out. Hornby didn't quite get it right for the Black 5, but it's there. These do look nice and they do run pretty smooth. As we move on to the cab area itself, the cab area is basic. Like I said, this is old tooling. I don't really expect much. There's nothing in there painted, but it is there moulded. I have stuck some Hornby crew in there, so they might look a bit odd looking at the cab detail, but it's there. Like I said, there's no glazing at all in the locomotive, but it's there anyway. At least they've got the windows and stuff. It's still a nice looking thing. When it goes around, are you going to see it? Probably not. As we move on to the tender, or the front of the tender, there is some mouldy stuff again, like doors, cubby holes and stuff like that for the crew. There also is a chute for the coal, but no coal hanging out, but it's there. We also have handrails on the locomotive and the tender. As we move on to the side of the tender, both sides to me look exactly the same. There might be some differences that people notice that I don't, but we'll just sit with this side. We do have tampo printed of the LMS on the tender in gold leaf lettering style thing. It is nice, it is there. We also have a handrail too at the front and the back of the tender. We have that red lining going around the outside of the tender. It does look nice. The steps that are there are moulded onto the axle stuff in the chassis. It's there. The wheels are metal. It's not a bad thing. It does look the part when it's going around. As we move on to the back of the tender, pretty much like the front, we have a big decoupling. We also have some rivets on the buffer beam. We have plastic buffers. We have a hook that is red. We also have a vacuum pipe which is already supplied, which is nice. As we move up a bit, we have no lamp irons that I can see, but we have 2 lots of steps going up the tender. We also have a handrail as well. As we do a bird's eye view of the locomotive, we'll start off at the cab area. The cab area does have some rivets. It also has a vent that doesn't move, it's moulded, but it's still a great touch from Hornby, that is. Saying this is a little bit old tooling. We also have the red lining near the whistles and safety valves. They do look nice, the safety valves do anyway. As we move down a little bit more, you can also see the dome, and I think it's a feeder. They're moulded on. We also have a lining just before the chimney, I think it's a red line. And then with the chimney itself, you can also see the big decoupling. There's a few washout plugs dotted around the boiler area as well on this model. As we do a bird's eye view of top of the tender, we do have a place to put your water, a water filler cap that is there. We also have some sort of dome and 2 lots of air stuff to stop the water getting air in it, I believe, from what someone told me. I could be wrong. And moving along, we do have the old-fashioned coal that Hornby used to do many years ago. It's okay for its time. As we look at the chassis of the locomotive, you can see the big decoupling is screwed to the front pony truck. It's not bad. All the wheels are metal, which is nice. In the centre, you have, it looks like 4 screws to take the base plate off. You also have a cog or a gear in the middle to help you lubricate it, which is a nice touch. The 6 driving wheels do have pickups. It is nice, they all have got pickups, very nice. Could do with cleaning the wheels though. And finally, as we move on to the underneath of the tender and the connection is an old-fashioned one. You just slot it in place. It's copper pipe stick sticking out to connect to the board. As you can see, it's got like a bronze feel to it. That is old-fashioned, but it still works. It's still just as good. As we move across, there's no detail part to talk about really here. The front and back wheels, I think, pick up on the tender. And I think the base plate of the tender just clips off. And you also have the big decoupling. Next up will be the points test and second radius. Let's see how it gets on, shall we? What's that, 20? Yeah, it's done because the wire keeps getting caught. It's not bad, 20's not bad. So yeah guys, it managed that pretty well. Next up will be the usual slow speed test and a mini running session with it. So here it goes. What's that, 20? It's not too bad for DC. Can do slightly better as well, but it's not too bad. So yeah guys, that's the end of the review. Before I give my opinion, I'll show you roughly what it ran with. Mixture of freight, beer, only fools, bananas, milk, coal. Just a general freight, I believe, what it might have carried. I was going to do coaches, but I'm unsure. So yeah, would I recommend a railroad locomotive again? I would at the right price. The detail isn't great, which doesn't bother me. It was a cheap loco, no sprung buffers, no cab detail, no glazing. That doesn't bother me. It runs perfectly. Yeah, it stuck to when I did the points test. That's more my fault with the controller. I think one of the wires to the tracks is loose. I understand that this is the old tooling and the gap between the wheels is wrong, from what I understand. But I'm no expert, so I can't tell if it's right or wrong, but it looks the part to me. They're easily maintained. You can practice stuff on them, so for beginners, I probably would recommend it. For someone who's an expert and knows what they're chatting about, maybe not. But then again, you could use it as a project, I don't know. But I think it looks really nice. Delivery is quite nice as well. It's black, but it's quite nice with the lining. So yeah, I would recommend it at the right price. If I'm honest with you, that's only my opinion. So yeah guys, I'll see you in the next video, so please take care and goodbye.